Thank you. And okay, now we go to the next speaker, to Michaela Sullivan-Paul, that is the project manager at the Womenpreneur Initiative that is located in Brussels, but they have a lot of projects around and at international level. So, okay, I don't keep more time, and Michaela, you can start your presentation.
Perfect. I just want to check beforehand that everybody can hear me okay and everybody can see the presentation.
Yes,
yeah?
We can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Clarissa and Maria, for having me here today. As mentioned, my name is Michaela, and I'm here on behalf of the Womenpreneur Initiative, here to provide you a bit of a case study on the nonprofit organizations. So in terms of what we're going to discuss today, I'm going to start a little bit about Womenpreneur Initiative, and then we're going to talk a little bit about innovation and some tools for innovation, and then we'll jump right into some more concrete examples through case study. So just to explain a little bit of the perspective that I'm coming from, so who are we at the Womenpreneur Initiative? We're a non-for-profit organization. Through our projects and activities, we've managed to empower more than 15,000 women since our launch in 2016. We operate both in Belgium and the MENA regions. Myself personally, I'm the manager of the MENA team, and so a lot of the activities I'll be talking about today are going to relate to the Middle East and North African region. And ultimately, our goal is to advance women's ability to achieve financial independence, to be empowered to be economic market actors, and to drive innovation for women in the MENA region, as well as in Belgium. So we have this mission at the Womenpreneur Initiative to create a shift within societies by offering impactful solutions that will accelerate the social and economic development of women in communities. So you can tell just based off of this mission, it's quite ambitious. And so the question that we often face is how do we start with a vision or a mission or objective, and how do we actually get there when sometimes it feels so daunting and can very much be very ambitious. So that brings us to the idea of innovation. So innovation in the most simple form is simply creating a new idea, a new product, or a new service. But I feel like nowadays it can feel like all of the ideas have already been thought of, and coming up with something original can be really, really difficult. But thankfully, there are so many different drivers of change. I've only identified a couple here, but just going off of some of them, we have new challenges and changes. So that could be demographic changes, that could be changes in migration patterns. Environmental concerns is definitely a recent driver of innovation, and of course the pandemic. The pandemic has not only served as a launching point for people to identify some gaps or some things missing in the market, but has really allowed people to take on innovative tools to be able to accelerate their business. Other drivers of change or of innovation can include changes in the labor force in the market. So seeing how the labor force is changing their education, what kind of skills they're prioritizing, and what kind of trainings they're adapting to, and how that's also changing the market that you're going to be working in. Another thing is the access to information, data, and knowledge. I'm sure we've all heard the expression that data is the new oil, and whether that's true or not, our ability to access this information and this data can definitely drive innovation. And of course, collaboration, consultation, and co-production methods. This is huge for the non-for-profit third sector, but more specifically, it's something that we emphasize very much at the Womenpreneur Initiative. So having identified those, here are some tools that we have adapted through the Womenpreneur Initiative that really pushes innovation for us. So it's integrating co-design policies. It's creating an environment in which we're able to call on stakeholders from multiple different sectors that's going to allow us to create a comprehensive vision of whatever problem it is that we're trying to solve. And from there, offer some solutions that are going to be cross-sectoral and possibly transnational as well. We integrate user and stakeholder consultations, so launching kind of off of that co-design policies. It's bringing as many voices into the center of those discussions as possible, again, in order to create a comprehensive and evidence-based informed solution. We use available data and technology to inform all of our conception, our design, and our implementation, trying to, again, pull in as much information as possible so that we are offering a comprehensive solution. and utilizing co-production methods to inform conception, design, and implementation as well. So using collaboration, using brainstorming sessions, using all of those things to really be able to bounce ideas off of each other, and again, drive that innovation to find some concrete solutions to some issues that could be affecting multiple different sectors or, demographics. So we identify some key stakeholders. With our personal organization, we often work with all of these key stakeholders: private sector, public sector, other non-for-profit organizations within the third sector, and of course, civil society. In terms of creating a shared economy and really building trust in community, we've identified key stakeholders as an extremely important aspect of our process in order, again, to build that trust and to create a sense of community that we can launch, our activities and our projects from. So some concrete examples of how the process works at Womenpreneur Initiative. We have a lot of activities, but before we kind of get to the problem solving aspect of the organization, we always go into the problem identification aspect of it. And so here's an example of a policy paper we've created. And what this policy paper really represents is the consultation process of our organization. So we have gone to these countries, Algeria, Egypt, and Lebanon for this specific example. We've engaged directly with civil society as well as key stakeholders within that place to be able to identify the issues that these women are facing, in that context. So we either located in Europe or, I'm in Paris, CEOs in Belgium. We may have an idea of what empowerment means to these women, and we may have an idea of what economic freedom means for these women. But if we don't actually ask them that, how do we know for sure that the solutions that we're offering are truly going to, fix whatever problem we've identified? So consultation with all key stakeholders, but specifically, with the target audience, the target group, is extremely important. Once we were able to do that consultation and identify the challenges and opportunities, we then did a lot of literature reviews, again, pulling in that knowledge and the data that was available to us, just basically establish a common or shared framework of what the issue is. Once we bring in all of those voices into that area, we're able to see, okay, well, this isn't only an issue in this specific place or affecting this specific demographic, but we can actually see trends where it's going, across different sectors, or we're facing it in this entire region rather than this one city. And so once we're able to establish that problem identification, it's going to make it easier or more successful, hopefully, when we implement our solution. Here's another example of a policy paper we did. This one specifically was for female tech entrepreneurs. And again, we're identifying the key stakeholders, we're talking to civil society, we're talking to our target audience in order to create that common framework of the problem. So then once we have this kind of concrete idea of what the problem is, then we can start brainstorming some real solutions that are going to check all of those boxes. So here's some concrete examples of the projects that we've been able to launch, having done that previous process. The Womenpreneur Mentorship Program. With that, we kind of identified that there was a big gap in mentorship, and for women who aspire to be in certain positions, they can't necessarily identify themselves in the positions or the sectors they want to be in. And so that creates a huge issue for women who, want to be in the tech sector or in the digital sector or whatever it may be. They need to be able to see themselves in those roles. And so finding professionals, female professionals in those programs and being able to match them with those women gave them a sense of empowerment that we were able to kind of identify in the earlier stages of the projects. The Womenpreneur Forum is an annual event that really connects decision makers with civil society. So unfortunately, it's only once a year. But again, we identified that there was a miscommunication, or there was a lack of communication between civil society and decision makers. And so we wanted to create a space and an event in which we could help locals and civil society be heard by their representatives or by decision makers, to then hopefully affect policy and to actually enact real change, either legislatively or whatever it may be. And then finally, we also, as another example, we have the Womenpreneur Digital Hub. So another issue that we identified in our earlier stages of development was that there were a lot of women who wanted to participate in the new digital economy. And unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for them to either participate or to gain the necessary skills to even just be digitally literate. And we identified the gender digital divide as a huge issue. And from there, we kind of launched a space that was really intended to empower women to become digitally literate. And then from there, we noticed that there was a lot of women who, you know, had those basic digital skills, but wanted to go and continue upgrading those skills or that knowledge. And so from there, we really launched this training and educational program that's, you know, free and accessible to anybody, but is really targeting women in the MENA region to help empower them to gain more entrepreneurial skills, business skills, but financial and digital literacy specifically for this platform. So we identified earlier on this really ambitious goal, and then we kind of talked about the process that allowed us to generate some real measured impact here. So what we've noticed is 15,000 followers, oh sorry, 115,000 followers, 150 speakers, 23 countries. You know, we've hosted 230 events, 500,000 outreach, some really measurable impact that we can look at and say, we're actually making a difference through this process. So it's a really, really brief kind of wrap-up summary of what we've discussed here. Our process at Womenpreneur is kind of this timeline here. It's a really simplified version, of course. But we start by identifying the key stakeholders and participating in consultations with them. Through that, we are able to collect information that not only, you know, we've identified previously, but that our stakeholders have also allowed us to better understand as well. From there, we can establish a common or shared framework of what the problem or the challenge is. And then from there, we framed a solution that's going to either offer a service or a product that's going to better encompass or solve the issues that were previously identified. And then we implement the solution. One thing that I didn't mention that is extremely important for us at Womenpreneur is to share our experience. For every one of our activities, our participants and support organizations with similar target audiences always receive a toolkit kind of informational package, which is going to review the key information that was found during our either our project or our intervention, for example. And what that does is ideally it would contribute to best practices. It would allow other people, other organizations, other sectors to be able to look at that information. And from there, you know, again, push innovation, but using information that we've already been able to gather. And we rely on our partner organizations to do the same. So it really is a community. We share our experiences, we share our results. And in that process, we really hope to develop more trust in the community so that, you know, we're engaging in co-production, we're engaging in co-design, and we're there for each other to be able to, again, produce some really meaningful solutions. So that's the conclusion of my presentation. I'm open to any questions you guys might have. If you have any more, you know, if you want any more information, you can take a look at these places here, or you're welcome to contact me directly via email as well.